All right, welcome back, everybody. Barry Markson in for Mike Broomhead. Happy Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? I'm getting my days mixed up again. Happy Wednesday. Happy New Year to everybody. Very excited to be joined right now by Arizona House Speaker Ben Toma. And Speaker, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Let me... There we go.
Oh, are we on now?
Yeah,
okay.
Now we're on. There we go.
Okay, very good.
Welcome to KTAR. Welcome back. I know you've been here before. And so much to talk to you about. We scheduled this, and then, of course, news starts happening at the beginning of the year, and things are exciting. So I know you're running for Congress in District 8, Debbie Lesko's old seat. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But I wanted to mention there was an op-ed in the Republic today that you were one of the co-authors on about Hamas in Arizona. Tell us what you're going to do here. As I understand it, Arizona, you're looking for Arizona to condemn Hamas and what they did on October 7th.
Correct. We will do that on opening day, which is Monday. To my knowledge, it's the first time that we're actually passing a resolution officially on opening day. But it's an important time for us to do that. It's important for us to be very clear where we stand on the terrorist organization that is Hamas, and also for us to be in support of the Jewish state of Israel, which is, to me, just the right thing to do, given what's happened. October 7th was a tragedy, really worldwide, and I think someone once said, I think it might have been actually in the op-ed, that when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. It's just, this has got to stop. Yeah,
you said that well, and we know who Hamas is. We know what they are and what they're doing. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'll have it on my Twitter attached there. But it's in the azcentral.com and the Republic, co-authored by the mayor of Prescott, Phil Good, and also Steve Hilton, who's just a community leader here, and also is spearheading the Holocaust Education Center in Phoenix that's going to start being built and should be ready in the next couple of years. So great op-ed, and I encourage everybody to read it. Is this bill you're going to put forth, this resolution, on day one? Do you already know? Do you have support from both sides of the aisle?
There is support from both sides of the aisle. I can't say that every single member supports it, but I can tell you categorically that we have support.
And do we know, is Governor Hobbs going to sign it, or does she need to sign a resolution like this?
No, she does not need to sign it.
Good. So that's great. I think that's great that Arizona is making that, taking that position, taking that stand first thing. So thank you for doing that.
Sure.
So let's go to the district. We're going to talk some local issues here in just a few minutes, but I do want to talk to you. You're running for Congress. I always ask people this when they run for office: why on earth are you doing this? Why would you put yourself through an election and going to D.C.? Why do you want to be a congressman?
Well, first of all, as I think everyone already knows, in my district, it wasn't necessarily my first choice. But the truth is that that we all know that Washington is broken. You have very tight majorities, that the Republicans are currently in control in the House in any case, and they seem to be spending a lot of time fighting amongst themselves instead of actually getting things done. The only thing they have been able to do just collectively as a Congress at this point is continue to grow government and continue to just kick the can down the road. And, the truth is it's actually a pretty similar situation at the state level. We have a one-vote majority. We have a diverse caucus, and sometimes there's infighting. But in spite of all that, and it's been that way, by the way, for at least the last 5 years, in spite of that, I've been able to do some pretty big things and amazing wins for conservative causes. And I think we need that kind of person, someone who's willing to roll up their sleeves and go over there and figure out how to make this work, and not necessarily just to focus on self-promotion or attacking teammates.
Ben Toma is with us. He's Speaker of the House in Arizona and a candidate for Congress in District 8. It's interesting, in District 8, you're running against what I've been calling the land of misfit toys. You're running against a bunch of people who have lost elections, who had to resign in shame, and no offense, but that's what happened, and just a bunch of folks who really haven't gotten anything accomplished. They just seem to want an office. That seems to be the biggest thing. Whereas you've been there. You're leading the House of Representatives here, the House here in Arizona. You've gotten things done with conservatives, with Republicans leading the legislature, but also now with the Democratic governor. You know how to govern, and I talk about this all the time. We need people who want to govern and lead in office, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, but people who want to get something done. Is that what you see yourself doing in Congress?
Well, that's the only interest I have. As my colleagues even know in the House, and anyone that's watched the House for the last few years knows that as majority leader or as the speaker currently, I rarely speak on the floor. I'm not there to grab the microphone. As a matter of fact, I generally run away from the microphone when it's in my face. This one notwithstanding. But to me, it's about, like I said before, rolling up your sleeves and getting things done, figuring out a way to actually move the ball forward, and figuring out a way to leave the place better than you found it. And as I said before, I'm doing it out of duty. I think this is our country. Our country needs people that are willing to just do the work and put in that time necessary, figure out, tackle some of these big issues. Border is a big problem. As you know, I've got a pretty robust border plan in terms of what we need to do long term. Some of them are obvious. Obviously, finish the wall and triple actually the number of border agents. You were talking earlier about the fact that all of a sudden Lukeville is being opened again. Sure. Well, what changed? Well, the only thing that changed really has been pressure from pretty much everybody, and outrage from both sides of the aisle, because the federal government has no idea what to do about the situation that they've largely created. So we need to fix it.
Is there any chance that Arizona is going to ask the federal government to pay us for the loss that we've had to our economy and other damages because Lukeville was closed for a month?
Well, I certainly would support that. I don't see any reason why not. I mean, it is a true cost and a massive one at that, especially for those that have property down there, or that now I've had to drive another hour and 2-3 hours depending on which way you go,
and a risk of getting shot. It's dangerous.
Yeah, exactly, of course, and thankfully that, to my knowledge, that hasn't happened, but it could easily happen. But again, it just goes to show you how out of touch Joe Biden and the Democrats up there are.
It did happen, by the way. There were people shot in a car, and they told people not to go there anymore. So it was
wow.
Yeah, the new route was dangerous. Ben Toma is joining us, the Speaker of the House in Arizona, running for Congress in District 8. Let me just ask you, for the folks who don't know, you're from this district, right? I mean, this is the district you represent now. It's a district you represented after or before redistricting. You live in this district. Your family's in this district. That's different than most of the people you're running against.
Yeah, I mean, we've lived in this district, still what is this district today, since my family moved here when I was 17 years old. So we've been in Glendale, then in Peoria, but now back in Glendale really this entire time. So it's been close to 30 years, 28 or so years now that I've lived in this district. Grew up in it. There was no 101 when we first moved here.
Right.
And it was just Beardsley Road. And a lot has changed. It's grown quite a bit. But the needs of the district are very specific. You've got also the Sun Cities that are part of this, Sun City Grand, Sun City West. And I actually used to represent Sun City Grand and Sun City West in my old legislative district here at the state level. So I'm very familiar with the district.
All right. And I know, look, it's a conservative district. You're absolutely a conservative politician. You supported Trump. You supported Trump in 16 and in 20. You fit well into the seat. And Debbie Lesko, who's retiring from the seat, has endorsed you and, in fact, asked you to run.
It was an honor. Again, as I said before, I haven't, it wasn't on my list of things to do, but when Congresswoman Lesko calls and asks you to do something, you think about it. And most importantly, she convinced my wife. So once that happened, I'm in.
All right. And Mr. Speaker Toma, let me ask you, if folks want to check out your campaign, where do they go?
It's pretty easy. It's just bentoma.com.
Okay,
nice
bentoma.com. You have your policies on there if you want to donate some money and help the campaign. And you're somebody that's you're running in a big primary there. And for the folks that are in that district, this is you're the guy. I mean, you've been living there. You support the district. You've represented the district for a long time. You need the district to get behind you and show everybody that you're the guy to be in Congress.
Absolutely. I can't do it without their support.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Barry Markson in for Broomhead. Thanks for joining us. Speaker of the House Ben Toma is with us and stayed around for a second segment. We appreciate that. Speaker, thanks for being here. I did have some questions for you. A lot going on this week. Next week, the legislature the session opens on Monday, right? And the governor will give her, is it the State of the State speech she gives on Monday? So that's all happening on Monday. She issued yesterday, though, Governor Hobbs, what she's calling her plan to increase accountability and transparency in the ESA voucher program. It's what we euphemistically call the school voucher program to take money to go to private schools. Just generally, what do you think of the governor's plan? And let me preface this by, I know the biggest concern for many taxpayers, as we understand it, is the program is just way over budget. I've read recently that we're about halfway through the year, and it's already $40 million over the allocated funds, and obviously that's not going to get better as the year goes on.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a misnomer right
Okay.
from the beginning. So keep in mind that the legislature's job is to allocate to make sure that every child in the K-12 age in Arizona gets a quality education. That's our job, and we don't allocate money specific to ESAs. We make some projections, and so there's some sort of back of the napkin numbers on what we expect that it will cost. But what we do allocate is dollars to K-12 as a total, and that includes charter schools, district schools, and every other program that's part of that line item. Well, so what is important, which the governor is not mentioning, is that our actual line item, our total line item for K-12 is under budget. In other words, we've done what we needed to do from a budget standpoint. Now, within that bucket, parents have chosen, more parents than we initially anticipated, have chosen to use the ESA option. But keep in mind that for every child that switches from, say, a charter school or from most district schools to an ESA, the state actually saves money. So at the end of the day, if you're just looking at just the ESA program in and of itself, then that's, I guess, technically bigger than what we thought. But when you look at the total, the actual net effect is we're saving money.
So let me make sure I'm understanding. The money that is used to pay for the ESA, the vouchers, is coming right out of the K through 12 budget. It's that number is not going to change. It's just those dollars, instead of going to public schools, are going to go to private schools.
That's correct. But because this is happening, because some of these changes are happening, we're actually saving money as taxpayers.
Okay, but the money's coming right out of the public school system to go to the private schools.
Because in Arizona, we fund per child,
choice.
right?
Right. Okay.
Right.
Understood. So let me just go through some of these things in the governor's her plan, as she's calling it, and I'll lump a couple of these together. Several of them seem to be basically saying that private schools that accept this money, government money for students, as their parents take them there, would have to report things like attendance and other absenteeism and grades, and I forget what it is here exactly, but it's basically things that public schools have to provide. Information that we get from the public schools that we can see metrics, we can see how students are doing, and the ESA program does, as I understand it, doesn't have that as a requirement. Am I wrong, or is that right?
You're right, but that's
Okay.
because, so first of all, it's clear that whoever put this together for the governor doesn't understand how the ESA program works.
Okay.
Doesn't understand anything about it, first and foremost. And that's important to note, because the ESA is not an agreement between the state and a private school. The ESA
the
is an
parents.
agreement with the parent.
Understood. So, but I think what the government, I apologize for interrupting, we're just
No,
little
go for
time
it.
issues. What I'm saying is if the government, any government, has the ability to tell anybody where the money that is going to somehow receive government money, which is what's happening here. I understand it goes to the parent and then it goes to the school, but the government can say to private schools, you're getting government money to fund these students. We want you to provide this information, which is the same information public schools provide. Nothing new, nothing different, the same accountability type information. Why wouldn't we want that from private schools?
Well, first of all, this is not a voucher, on top of the fact that they keep trying to call it that.
Okay.
And that's a legal distinction that matters in the courts. If it was a voucher, that could, in theory, have been held to be unconstitutional based on our Constitution and a lot of other things. So what they're trying to do here is there's a program that they don't like. I think that's pretty clear. They don't like the fact that parents have choice at the end of the day. And so they're trying to kill it with bureaucracy and regulation. But now, a couple of these things, let me just,
Sure.
now I'm interrupting you, but a couple of these things. First of all, they're talking about fingerprinting. First of all, we're not aware of any school in Arizona, any private school in Arizona, that doesn't already do that. So it's a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. And to try to put regulations on private schools, not that I disagree with you that some of them are commonsensical, because I think that makes sense. But the problem is now you're talking about changing the structure of the entire ESA program so that they can then add a third party, really, to an agreement that is between two parties. And as an attorney, I think you can understand that. The private schools have no... they're not a party.
I
to any
understand
of
what
this.
you're saying legally. I guess I'm just asking the question, with so many more students going to private schools and taking public dollars with them to private schools, why don't we want, as the people of Arizona, some level of accountability, or just to understand, is this private school doing a good job? Just like we want to know about a public school, whether it's doing a good job. Don't we want that information now?
Well, of course we do.
Okay,
But-
so why
but-
not? So why not have that be a requirement of the private schools that are receiving these dollars?
Because, again, they're not party to this. We'd have to change the way the whole program works, first of all, to make that happen in any real way. But what is more important is that parents have this ability. Parents can and do now have the choice to make any sort of changes. If they're unhappy with the outcomes, if they're unhappy with the way the school is spending their money, if they're unhappy with, let's use, for example, the homeschool as an example, since people don't really talk about this much. I'm not aware of a single program in the state right now that has that level of transparency where you actually have a receipt for every single charge that is approved at the end of the day. Now, you find me a program that's like that, or you even find me a public school, whether it's a charter or a district school, that has that level of scrutiny. They're trying to say it's unaccountable. They're trying to say there's no transparency. But the reality of it is there's more transparency than any other program I'm aware of.
All right. Last question about this, and we're running out of time. But one of the things she has in here, the governor has, is requiring these private schools that are receiving this money to provide accommodations and services for the students according to individual learning plans or Section 504 plans, which private schools don't have to do. Is that something that you support?
I do not. I think at the end of the day, private schools are fitting a role that district schools and charter schools are not. And if it's a private school that doesn't focus on say, a child that has an IEP, then they should be allowed to do that. Now, there are private schools that are specifically focused on those kids. And I think it's one of those trying to make everybody a one-size-fits-all, which is the entire antithesis of school choice. One
more question. House Speaker Ben Toma is with us here on KTAR. Separate topic. Proposition 211, which was the transparency, I'm probably calling it the wrong thing.
Yes.
It passed, I think, 75 to 25 as a ballot proposition here in Arizona. You and Senator Peterson have filed a suit that the judge just ruled on a couple of parts of that. Mm-hmm. Why are we saying that we don't want this transparency for people who give what we call dark money or hidden money to organizations or candidates? Why don't we want to know who is giving large campaign donations to these ballot initiatives?
Well, I think if it was fair, it'd be a different conversation. The problem is there are certain organizations that are exempted from this and others that are not. So for me, it's a basic fairness question. Either we're going to know from everybody, which by the way includes labor unions and 501c3s and all those others that are part of it, or we're not going to know from anybody. But this kind of hybrid situation that carved out certain largely left-leaning organizations out of those requirements and left everybody else, that's the problem. We're not treating it fairly.
Understanding what you're saying. But that's what was approved by the people of Arizona on a 3-to-1 basis, 75 to 25. I ask every legislator this. Don't we just honor what the people voted for as opposed to trying to, in essence, go around it or undermine it later after it's passed? Well, I get we don't like it, but it's happened. Why not just say this is what the people want?
Sure, but the people aren't always right. And the truth of the matter is that what someone understood when they voted for something could be, nuance matters. The reason we're a republic and not a straight democracy is because details matter, and some of these issues are very, very complex. And I'm not saying that the people are wrong to want transparency, just so we're 100% clear.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is they probably didn't understand that there are these groups that were carved out.
So you would support 100% transparency. You'd support, in essence, this law that is now a law in Arizona. You'd support it if it included transparency for all groups, not just the groups that are no carve-outs.
I would personally, yes.
Okay. All right, Speaker Ben Toma, thank you for joining us. We've got a little over time. They're going to yell at me in a minute, but I really appreciate you coming in. Great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.